So President Trump has picked his nominee for jobs, data czar. He basically fired the last person because the data didn't match the version of events the president hoped to portray. So meet E.J. Antoni. He's a conservative economist who has been openly critical of the agency. For example, a few weeks ago, he posted on X, quote, "There are better ways to collect, process, and disseminate data, and that only consistent delivery of accurate data in a timely manner will rebuild the trust that has been lost." Antoni is also a known contributor to Project 2025, a MAGA-friendly voice. Here he is with a conservative activist and former advisor to the president, Steve Bannon.
Have we put in our own person into BLS? Is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts? Are they running the Bureau of Labor Statistics yet, sir?
No, unfortunately, Steve, we still haven't gotten there. And I think that's part of the reason why we continue to have all of these different data problems. We're going to see hundreds of thousands of jobs that we thought we had in 2024. It turns out never even existed.
Okay, group chat is back. I want to talk about this because there has been a lot of conversation about, can people trust data from the government? We even hear it now in the crime conversation. What does it mean to have unbiased data? Based on this person and their resume, do you think we're looking at someone who can deliver that?
It seems unlikely, and I think sort of this is part of what to me is Donald Trump's evil superpower, which is the way that he makes us focus in on and care about minor government jobs that most Americans shouldn't ever have to think about. You know, Postmaster General, GSA administrator, the person who's running the Treasury payment system. BLS is as technocratic a job as there possibly could be in the U.S. government, and it's one where much of our finance sector, much of our economy sort of runs on being able to have unimpeachable data coming out of that system. And the moment I think we begin to undermine the possible integrity there, it's to our detriment.
What they've raised over and over again, the White House, is the idea that every time there are revisions, which is that lag time when the labor statistics folks get more accurate numbers from the companies that voluntarily submitted to the survey, that those revisions themselves are evidence of bias. Can you guys help me parse some of that? Because here's how Antoni. Well, here's Antoni talking to Fox News Digital. He was saying, until this is corrected, the BLS should suspend issuing monthly job reports.
Oh, of course.
But keep publishing the more accurate, though less timely, quarterly data. I mean, wait until all the numbers are in.
So this is the problem here. He is, for many people, the worst case scenario. He has critics on the right, very strong critics on the right, because they see him as a partisan who really doesn't have the background. He comes from a sort of mediocre university. He hasn't published a lot of papers. He is not considered to be an economic giant, if you will. I'm just quoting people. I have no idea. So that is the criticism of him on the right. And then, of course, on the left, people see him as just highly partisan. The problem here is, when you talk about faith in the numbers, this is, again, a problem that has not existed before. I have not heard a lot of outcry from economists or others saying, oh, my God, the numbers that we get from the United States are completely wrong. In fact, quite the opposite. Our entire system runs on the fact that these numbers have been solid, people trust them, and so the global markets, leaving aside the American markets, look at these numbers as the gold standard. So by degrading your faith in that, what you're doing is degrading the gold standardness of the American economic system.
Also, if the economy goes in the direction that the president wants and he starts pointing to numbers to tell us that's true, can we trust them?
It becomes problematic, doesn't it? And look, we see revisions every month. Sometimes they're revised upward, sometimes downward. But I'm reminded of this hire and others of a story about when President George H.W. Bush was president. His son W was going around the West Wing and other offices saying, we need more loyalty. And we define loyalty politically very different today than we did back then. Obviously, anybody that Donald Trump hires, whether it's this person or someone else, is going to be extremely loyal to Trump. And my concern on this is on numbers that markets and investors really need to trust, that whatever the numbers are, whether they're manipulated or not, that the statements that then will come out of BLS, if those numbers are reported, by the way, the statements coming out of the BLS will sound like exactly what we've seen from Trump's doctors, that these are not just the fittest, strongest president in our history, but the fittest, greatest economy in the world, that then markets will ultimately dismiss.
And I've just seen versions of that all over the world. I've covered these countries, Argentina, Venezuela, you see it in Turkey. People don't trust the numbers, and so they can't make rational decisions on them. And once you start degrading that, what follows, banking crises, economic crises, people need accurate information that they can trust, and they don't trust it when they see any president. This isn't a right or left issue, sticking their hand in and trying to maybe push the numbers in one direction.
It'll be interesting to see if there is any kind of backlash to this nomination. It's not every single nomination has worked out of the gate for the president. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this one.